Now we have to try again. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the House of Steel broadcast for the first in our inaugural series, um, Yucks, You May Yum, where we talk about kinks and fetishes that some people find either untenable or scary or this is a hard no or inappropriate or offensive or whatever. People tend to feel like these are not for you, but what we are here to do, as we love to do at the House of Steel, is to present a bunch of information about a bunch of different topics so that you can make conscious decisions about what you enjoy and learn about things that you may enjoy. Um, to kick things off today, this is not an episode of Beauty and the Beast, which is probably what you're thinking when you're looking. But we do have an amazing guest today, and I'd like to welcome them in. Miss Jade is with us today, and she is going to lead us in a topic about dark age play. So, Miss Jade, thank you so much for being here and welcome.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Right. So, full transparency, Mix Jade is a cherished friend of mine, and so I'm extremely excited to share this space with her today and to talk about this topic. Mix Jade is also a very knowledgeable and accomplished member of the kink leather fetish BDSM community, leading in many areas, and I've had the pleasure of being on the receiving end of her flogger and her healing hands. She can inflict pain and healing in equal measure. So I know this is going to be an awesome time talking about a topic that I actually think is really important because many people have little idea about what age play is in general, no less dark age play. But before we dive into that, I absolutely want to point out that some of the things that we're going to talk about today may have a triggering effect for some of you. So just be mindful that what we're talking about, um, of the activities that we talk about in dark age play, are all to be conducted consensually and knowledgeably. And that is one of the reasons why we're talking today, so that people understand what it is that they would be experiencing. I do want to share Miss Jade's bio. Um, Miss Jade is a pansexual, poly, gender bending, primal goddess and vivacious middle. Miss Jade has been on her BDSM kink journey actively in the community since 2017. As a Black queer dominant and member of Black Femdoms of Atlanta, she looks forward to showing up in ways that increase visibility, education, and respect for the intersections within the kink and BDSM community. So, thank you again for joining us, Miss Jade. Um, and I'm really excited because this series is one of the most important things that we've done on the house broadcast for me. I believe in talking about many things that affect us as leather people because we understand that we're not just people who play in leather, or we're not just 24/7 leather people. We are whole people. So there are many parts of our lives. There's the general human part of our lives, and then there's the kink fetish leather BDSM part of our lives. And unless we nurture both and make sure that both are safe, we are not going to have great experiences, and our kink journey will not be as satisfactory. And when I
Absolutely.
think back to when I started, when I was first applying to be a pledge for Onyx, our application had us list the kinks that we were interested in or that we practiced, kinks that we were interested in, and then hard no's. What are the things you're not going to do regardless? I'm not doing this. And my hard no's were CBT, blood,
Mm,
and scat.
Interesting.
And CBT was number one. Like, look, I've been cut before I survived that. I've been kicked in the nethers before and barely survived that. And now that everything is teal in my life, um,
Hmm.
CBT has become such a important part of my pleasure journey. On top of my leather journey, I've come to realize that I was just closed minded based on what I thought CBT was, without really fully understanding what it is, how it can be pleasurable, and whether it is pleasurable for me. So that's what we're looking to do for this series: give people a chance to rethink things that they may have closed themselves off from, so that everyone can enjoy themselves to the max. Because the reason we're here in kink is for pleasure. And if we're not having fun, and if we're not feeling pleasure, and if we're not deepening our understanding of what's pleasurable to ourselves, what are we doing?
Right.
But because not everyone in the audience has the pleasure of knowing you as well as I do, I thought that we play a round of 20 something questions to get to know you a little bit better. And in honor of today's topic, we are doing 20 questions, the middle edition, with
Interesting.
my Goddexxx Jade, here today. Question one: what is your favorite cartoon, either when you were a child or now?
Favorite cartoon. Ooh. Ah, well, now I'm more into anime.
Oh,
Um,
say less.
so currently my favorite anime would be Black Butler.
Mm,
Um, of course,
love that.
the kink elements are just all up and through. I also like Food Wars, also
Oh,
because I'm a very auditory person and they do a lot of extra.
mhm.
And culinary arts has always been in my life. And so putting cartoons and kinky responses and food all together um, is very much my niche. What else do I like? I like the darker vampiric gore kind of um, anime as well. But I like the cutesy kawaii stuff as well. So it's a span. I just like really bright colors, especially in my middle space.
Mhm.
I have never been like a Looney Tunes person, except for like the Looney Tunes babies because they were a little brighter in
Mhm.
color. So that's what attracts me to it.
Okay, well, if you haven't seen Dan to Dan, it's out on
Yes,
Netflix. Amazing.
they
Uh,
need to make that an album. Like the music is ridiculous.
Also, because you like brightness,
Hmm.
Sakamoto Days. I can't recommend that enough. I love it. In fact, I am going as Mr. Sakamoto for Halloween this year.
So getting pictures and sending apps. Okay, cool,
But this,
cool.
this isn't about me. It's about you. So, which do you which would you rather have? Nap time and cuddle time, or playtime?
So me as a middle, I enjoy more older middle things. So the difference between being little and middle for me is that the it's not a specific age, but it's age rangy for me. So I'm more of a middle who is upper in age, who has found their self in their sensuality, sexuality, and so
And
um,
just to qualify, play doesn't have to mean Legos.
absolutely,
Mhm.
absolutely. I like to dress up. And so when I talk about sensuality, I'm not talking about the act of doing the things. I'm talking about dressing up in things like the high socks. I love thunder thighs. I enjoy the cutesy kawaii skirts, but I also go goth doll. So I'll wear something like I'm wearing now. You can probably see a little bit of
Mhm.
it. Is a like leather or pleather skirt. like the belts and the ruffles. Sometimes I do like Victorian um, outfits kind of mixed with like little cutesy vests or big bows, or I wear my hair in pigtails.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I like the dress up, the play of it between soft and hard and dark and light.
Mhm.
Sometimes I'll wear white fishnets with a darker outfit. Sometimes I'll wear something bright pink, but underneath I have something a little more va voomish, a little
Mhm.
darker, a dark lip with something playful and like seafoam green is my favorite color.
Mhm.
And so I'll wear something that kind of plays on the pastels and darker, more vibrant colors. But um, I enjoy when I am in a playful mood, I enjoy drawing and coloring, but I get bored easily if I'm doing it only by myself. So I
Mhm.
like to draw on people. I prefer like the tattoo markers, the gel pens. I have tattoos on my back and I enjoy them being colored in. I don't care for like pacifiers for the sake of just having them, well, for them to stimulate or
Mhm.
you know what I'm talking about. um, as a person who's always had an oral fixation, so I used to be the girl with the pigtails back in the hood days,
Mhm.
with the lollipops in my hair, like LL Cool J song. That was me. I enjoyed that almost stemming feeling or that comfort of having them in my
Mhm.
mouth. So when I have a pacifier, it's usually for the aesthetic, what it
Mhm.
looks like. It matches the outfit. I'm a matchy matchy girl, and I spell girl GURL because I identify as a person who's very much a gender bender and very much connected to the masc and femme energy in me.
Mhm.
So I spell it with a U. But when I'm in that girly space, I enjoy matching my pacifiers to my clothes. But again, it's only for that feeling of having something there um, and to match the outfit. It's not really like something I need. I'm not a baby.
Mhm.
Not to knock them. I love babies.
Right. Right. Um, Daydreaming or late night thoughts?
Well, um, I'm also a kitsune, so I identify as a fox um, in my primal space. And so, as a fox, I also am up late because it's connected to like the vampiric element or succubus element.
Mhm.
And so, I don't sleep very well. And when I sleep, it's almost like in little bursts of naps,
Mhm.
which is why I don't nap, to go with the question you just asked,
Mhm.
um, unless I feel very safe or I feel like I'm not in need to be protective.
Mhm.
Um, because even my middle is a dominant, which you don't hear much in community, but no parts of me are on the S side. So when I'm in that almost regenerative state, it's usually during the day when I'm not feeling like I need to be protective in a very short burst, but at night I'm up thinking all the time. I have ruminating thoughts. So I can create scenes. Sometimes I'm building classes, as you can see.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes I'm making plans and protocols, thinking about my Butler book that I'm working on. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I don't sleep much. And I daydream often, but I think it's more or less up at night trying to plan to conquer the world.
What are we going to do tonight? The same thing we do every night. Plan to
Be
take over the world.
take over the
Uh,
world.
who's your favorite vampire?
Ooh, ooh.
And that was legit
Okay,
the next question, not
that's
because
hard.
you just mentioned vampires, but because I know you.
Oh, that's so hard. Ooh, there's a lot of them. Um, I have to say because Sister Girl Leah
Mm.
played the mess. Oh my God, played the mess out of why is
Akasha.
it Akasha?
Hmm.
Absolutely. The aesthetic, the way she moved in a room
Mm.
is something that I fire. Like you can feel her, you can see her. She puts you in a trance just by like her glimmer magic, ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I would say her, and also because I have locks, and so the way she wore her crown, I've
Mhm.
done a crown before when I had both sides of my hair. I only have one side now, but still can get the pigtails because my hair sits in my lap. Um, and so yeah, I can see her, but I also had a thing for the way Lestat kind of in the first scene of the movie, the way he sat on the speaker.
Mm.
It's almost that very like queer energy that he gave off and that movement that he gave. I very much like that. And he had a really cool voice in the movie. So I would say probably the play on both of them.
Mm.
Um, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of their energy was kind of fantastical, but yeah.
There are also many I love, but I think Pam from True Blood
I can
kind
see that.
kind of flipped for me the love of vampires and what they can be. Uh,
Mm,
that was just that performance was absolutely incredible. I loved how nurturing she was of Eric and how much she cared for Eric and how much she
mm.
didn't care about anything else. That was great for me. Two more questions. Journaling or doodling?
Oh, I'm a doodler.
Mhm.
I do journal, but I don't like to journal. That would be like it's hard for me to do it continuously,
Mhm.
but I this is the funny thing. So as a middle, I'm a collector of things that things go in. So books, stationary boxes, cigar boxes, just the empty boxes. I don't smoke cigars, but I definitely love watching people smoke cigars, as you know. Um, but I have millions of notebooks and journals because I love like pretty ones, ones with the little built-in like dividers, matching pens, the kind that lock, the kind that fold over, have the like magnet
Mhm.
fold over, which is why I like stationery boxes that do the same thing. Um, but I'm a doodler since I was a child. Like I think it's also something that I do to STEM, which I again have the words for it now as an adult that I didn't have before. But just at the corner of my pages, you can look through all of my assignments, homework. I used to get teachers who tell me, "Can you please just do the assignment, write your name at the top, and stop putting your little characters um, on the side?" I've always been attracted to dragonflies and orchids. And
Mm.
so I would draw them all the time on the edges of my paper. And then I don't remember, I don't know if you remember, but you know, the cubes and the squares, and when people used to try to do the 3DSs or
Mm.
money signs, I used to try my luck with the squares all the time. And so you would see them going up the sides of my homework
Mm.
and in my journal. Yeah, I'm a doodler.
Oh, okay. Cymbidium orchids are one of my favorite flowers.
Oof.
They're just
Can you
exquisite.
just say, can you just say the name one more
Cymbidium.
time?
I'm gonna send you some
Okay.
so that you can have a little bit of the magic of those orchids. They are just so gorgeous. Um, Last question, so that we can dive into this topic. This is Comic Con week this weekend,
Mm,
and you mentioned that you loved anime.
yes.
So, what anime character would you want to cosplay as if you were going to Comic Con?
Nezuka. No question. No question. No question. If it wasn't her, okay, I'll say this. If it wasn't her and I was just doing like regular cosplay, it would probably be like somebody like Katana or something like that because I love knives.
Hmm.
Um, especially I have a couple of I have a couple of outfits. They're not particularly those kind of outfits that
Hmm.
have the cuts on the side so your hips are out on each side.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's my thing. I like
We also like those.
those.
Um, so you feel free to do that. Um, okay. So thank you so much for answering those questions and giving us a little glimpse into you.
Mhm.
But I definitely want to make sure that we have time to talk about this topic because
Absolutely.
age play in general is something that not many people, well, I'm not going to say that, but I, many people don't know what age play is. There is, even with regular age play, a little bit of a stigma where some people feel like, oh, it's pedophilia if you're,
Mhm.
whatever, playing with attracted to children or something like that. And we all know that's not really what it is. So we're not going to go there. But can you, for viewers who may not know, describe age play
Mhm.
for
Absolutely. So, one thing I would like to preface before moving forward is just a lot of times we talk about what it isn't rather
them?
than talking about what it is. So, I'm glad that we're having these conversations.
Mhm,
I feel like as much as we talk about what it isn't, we leave that as the final thought in people's heads, which is why they correlate the two things together. Because as humans, psychologically, the last thing we hear is the thing that we retain, or the thing that we hear the most, we retain.
mhm,
And so I would like to talk about what it is. Um, so age play in general is basically any kind of play interacting with two consenting adults while they're in a particular headspace. Age play is not talking about just the little or the middle. It also talks about play in a caregiver headspace. You know, daddy, mommy, parental unit, because of course we talk about inclusion of people who are outside the gender binary.
right.
And so for me, as a person who identifies with both and plays on both sides, my daddy, spelled with an I, is a caregiver, and my middle, obviously, is kind of a little more sadistic and playful. But those headspaces for me includes particular kind of play that play on someone being the giver, the scolder, um, the teaser, the bully. They can be all types of different things.
Mhm,
Again, there's age play that also includes elder play, which people don't really talk about. And I would have a class coming up, possibly, that could be teaching a little bit more about being able to take those headspaces and create scenes and different kind of scenarios in which you are in these older or younger headspaces. But again, consenting adults are doing it.
mhm. Very nice. So how did you um, become involved in age play and find your roles as a
Mhm.
daddy and a middle?
So uh, we'll go back, way back.
Actually, if we could, just to provide the proper amount of context, can
Mhm.
you just talk about the difference between a little and a middle?
Yes.
Because you hear a lot about littles,
Hmm.
but you don't really hear a lot about middles.
Hmm. So what earlier when we were talking, I was talking about the difference in um, often littles are in a space where they enjoy littler things. And so if you can compare it to an age connection, say
Hmm.
for instance, liking to color or to be made to feel very small,
Hmm.
to want to nap and to cuddle and to play with
Be,
stuffies or dolls or
yeah.
are attracted to a very cutesy clothing. But not all of them are the same. So again, it's a general idea to get a kind of understanding of it, but each middle and little are different.
Hmm.
My middle is an older middle, and so I enjoy play in the headspace of like I'm babysitting or playing with the caregiver in a way where it's more older age, like things that we do, go to the movies, hang out, um, less. Well, I mean, it can be cutesy at times, but there's a difference. But again, it's different for everyone, so I can't really speak to a lot of littles because I'm not a little per se. But I
Mhm.
have dated some folks who identified as littles, and I have seen littles in community, and the cutesy pageantry, the outfits, the onlines, the kind of getting together as groups and being very playful, um, even like small talk.
Mhm.
So when I say I call it small talk, but
Mhm.
it's when they sound as if they're a lot younger when they're talking to each other and spelling things in communication with each other and texting sounds a little youthful. I won't say babyish because there are babies,
Mhm.
there are middles, and then there's also littles. And
Mhm.
so some people correlate with an age. They're like, okay, I'm around 5, or I'm
Mhm.
around 2, or I'm around. And so you can tell that by what they're interested in. Some enjoy like diapers and things like that when they're babies or littles,
Mhm.
toddlers and things like that. But again, we're using this language to figure out a headspace of consenting adults.
Right. Right.
So they have adult jobs and do adult things and they
Right.
know the difference.
And right. Right. So to get back to that question, how did you get involved in age play, and how did you come to find yourself as a daddy and a middle?
So starting from a lot earlier in my journey, identifying as somebody who dated primarily mask identified lesbians,
Mhm.
um, the use of daddy for me or for them, the people I dated, um, when called when they were called daddy and we had those different kinds of interactions, it just for some reason it hit different because it's a completely different understanding. I think it's being called daddy can be affirming for those who connect more and mask energy.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, I have always been a caregiver, and I had tied it into um, a lot of what society says that a femme presenting person is supposed to do. They're supposed to do the cooking and the cleaning and the caring for the little ones and things like that. But for me, I had used to do that caregiving nature because it's who I was. I just needed somewhere to put all that care, love, affection, the idea of seeing one grow and be affected by the things I taught or put in place. But I didn't have a name for it or a place for it. I just thought it was like, yeah, you want to be this maternal figure. But it actually never felt comfortable feeling maternal. It felt more paternal. And I think it also stems from certain roles that um, were present in my life and that feeling of I can do this better. Um, and we've had long discussions about, family and things like that. So you understand, like, if this was my role, if I took this on fully, if I was gifted this as an identity in life,
Mhm.
I knew I could do this better from that headspace. Even when I dress or when I dated more femme presenting people or people who had more of a youthful energy, which I dated somebody who didn't know that they were a middle at the time, but the whole time, the way they responded to me would shift me into daddy energy
Mhm.
while I'm driving, while I'm talking to them. And
Mhm.
then one time I was driving and the person looked over to me and something I had said to them about drinking water and they hated water. And I was like, so you're gonna finish the whole bottle. But the way I said it and the way I looked at them and the way I was holding the steering wheel and all my mannerisms changed, they were like, okay, daddy. And I looked at them and I said, and it was that look when you're like, do you know? Or you just calling me to play?
Right.
But the way she looked directly at me and got small and kind of looked at me like this, seatbelt was seat belted, the water bottle was tilted. I was like, oh, she knows, she saw.
Mm.
And so I kind of like it was like that for me in different places in my life. And so I was like, okay, we're gonna give this a name to it, but we're going to figure out where we are in the lifestyle first.
Mhm.
And so it has always been a caregiver nature that I've had. I just, again, we identify the way we identify, but until we get into connections with other folks, we don't have the opportunity to, um, what do you call, like, not coin that part of ourselves, but kind of nurture that part of ourselves and grow that part of ourselves.
And
Um,
fully understand it. And
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it's not the other person who makes us who we are, but it's putting the things we learn about ourselves into action. It's kind of like, I know this job on paper, I researched it, but when you get to the job, it's like, okay, we got to apply these skills and we have to figure out how this works. And that was actually the relationships I started getting in. I started realizing that's the role I started playing, especially when I was attracting people who had the coinciding energy. But my middle came later. This was it was almost funny because I think my mother's the middle too. Because she loves certain holidays. She dresses up every time. She's in like the one piece zippers, onesies. She, does things for community all the time for the kids and stuff like that. And I was like, why does she always feel attracted to do all this stuff? And I was like, I feel like she's the middle because I have that same nurture. Like I have that same desire to play or show up in this very whimsical way sometimes. And so um, it is almost seeing her reminded me that I can allow myself to have that.
Hmm.
And as an adult, I can parent the parts of me that didn't have a parent,
Hmm.
but also the parts of me that never got to be that adolescent child, that playful cartoon watching, cereal eating, coloring person. And so now as an adult, I feel that come up at the randomest times. So I'm learning how to cultivate and allow her space
Hmm.
to come out. And I'm also attracting and manifesting folks in my life who can very much respect my all of my identities, but also nurture those spaces and welcome them in a safe container to be able to be that. So when I take me to certain stores, like don't take me to Five Below unless you got money. Bring your credit card out, baby, because I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna go in. Yeah, makeup, bright stuff, accessories, um, all of my journals, all the pretty princessy looking things. Though I don't define myself as a princess, I just like the ones that are badass, like the ones like what's her name? Uh, the Irish. I think she was Irish, with the red hair, and she used
Brave
to have
from
Brave.
Brave. Hmm. Hmm.
That's my girl. Her Mulan. Like I like the ones who beat ass. Those are the ones. But I think it's also having powerful femme presenting figures.
Hmm.
And so those were like my superheroes, the ones who actually had like somewhat real life cultural connections, rather than the ones who were in the castle not doing the thing, needing to be rescued. That's why I feel like my middle is more of her own protector in that way. I don't really like my middle doesn't need a daddy. It just
Hmm.
needs community caregivers who are like friends and folks who I feel comfortable with.
Hmm.
And so when I'm in that space, I know they know when I go in that space and they're not trying to daddy me or parent me or mother me. They're just trying to be like, okay, I see where you at. All right,
Hmm.
watch it. Um, that.
So, so what is dark age play, and how does
Mm.
dark age play differ from age play?
Um, I look at dark age play as a um so if you look at age play, it's kind of like comparative to um ethical non-monogamy, right? You look at it as an umbrella and then there's different ways to do the thing.
Right.
So age play is here. That's anything that you're doing in a headspace that are two consenting adults doing, whatever the roles are, whatever the play, whatever.
Hmm.
Dark age play, um, and for me, dark age play. in specific is like scenes including one or more folks who are in differing headspaces that may or not be age specific, but this kind of play between the two consulting adults may be taboo and element. Um, it is any kind of corruption of innocence within a safe container.
Mhm,
And by safe, well, safer container.
mhm,
The reason why I say safe container is because we know what it is. It's a scene. We're making sure that outside of this, we have coping skills. If anything comes up mentally or emotionally, that could be um, trauma related or triggering or something that feels like it's a little too far or we didn't know those emotions were within us. Not that something had to have happened in our history, but some things, even generationally, will come up for us. And not all people have that experience. Sometimes they do the play and nothing comes up, never have, never will. But
mhm,
for some folks, it's very healing, though it's not therapy. It can be therapeutic in ways because some things come up, and now you have a consenting adult who have conversation about where it stems from, what this is, how it made you feel. But that's getting a little deeper into it. It is basically a scene with folks who have different ranges of intensity. Um, it can be something as innocent as being chased. So, say my middle. Um, is poking the bear, like being playful with the caregiver, right? And
mhm,
I'm like, come get me. The idea of being chased, but if that person puts on a mask or something that can invoke a little fear or get your blood to rise a certain way, then now we have a darker element
mhm,
because it's the corruption of innocence. It's not um like it's not a just standard way of being in caregiver or in middle space just playing parcheesi. We're actually doing something that could build like a sense of fear or I'm gonna get you. um it can be something like dressing up as a clown. It can be a bigger sibling who's in a middle headspace and they're playing with a little, and maybe they were, babysitting them or watching them color just while they're in that headspace and decided to do like a scene where they're under the bed. So they come from the kitchen getting a snack and the bigger sibling is under the bed and all of a sudden they touch their foot and scares
mhm,
the crap out of them and giggles because that invoking of fear just made it so fun for that person. They actually enjoyed scaring them, and that
mhm,
response was something that was stimulating or helpful or whatever. And maybe the little liked being scared, like they like that fear because we watch scary movies all the time. We invoke that fear,
mhm,
and so that's just a corruption of innocence in ways like that. It can get darker for some folks. It can be like a kidnapping, scenario where it's not real, but
mhm,
you're role playing that, you pre planned this, pre negotiated this, and then you get a bunch of friends who are middles and littles, and you're like, oh, we're going to get the littles. We're taming up on them tonight. And they
mhm,
can be, walking down the street, going to go skating, and all of a sudden you jump out in a van and grab them all up and play with them.
mhm,
But again, it's negotiated. Sometimes it's unsuspected, but it's always a conversation around it
mhm.
first before these things are happening. But it can be something so small, or it can be something a little darker than that.
But always in that safe container of
Hmm.
everything has been pre-negotiated. So while things may be a surprise, it's a
Hmm.
surprise within the realm of what is allowed and,
Absolutely.
and what will be enjoyed. So there's no infliction of trauma,
Right.
even in the midst of these other emotions that could be stirred up
Right.
in the midst of the play. And those emotions can often, and so just to put it in a frame for people who are like, oh, dark any play, dark pup play, dark
Hmm.
age play, dark whatever is bad, it shouldn't happen. um you're right, you mentioned a lot of people like to be scared. Last night we
Hmm.
went to a haunted house, and you know hundreds and hundreds of people were there for the purpose of being scared, and you
Hmm.
consented to be afraid, and people enjoy that fear and that opportunity of that. And so it isn't an unhealthy thing. It isn't a, and framed in consent, everything can be healthy. And
Yes.
so I just want to make sure that people understand as we're talking about that, especially since there are elements there are other elements that are present in that can be present in dark age play, like
Hmm.
consensual non-consent,
Hmm.
that many people also find to be um, can in their minds might be taboo or might
Hmm.
not be safe or healthy, where it's consensual
Hmm.
non-consent, and that's what makes it safe. So I just want to make sure
Absolutely.
that
I'd love
people
to actually even talk about that a little bit.
uh, have at it.
Um, one of the things that I talk about is the level of intensity. Again, it could be something as cutesy as a babysitter, little interaction. It could be something as intense as, say, for instance, a married couple was interested in role playing in this way, and um, one of the partners happens to be in that smaller space, and their caregiver, maybe want to have this interaction with them where they're like, I want to live out this fantasy with a consenting adult,
Hmm.
that includes us engaging in adult activity, but in these headspaces. And so, maybe they do want to extend their sexual intimacy into this role play within the safe container,
Hmm.
um, and maybe be a little heavy handed,
Hmm.
maybe be try some explorative things that if they were in their everyday headspace, they wouldn't have the courage, they'd be too shy to do, or they feel um, this level of embarrassment or shame that
Hmm.
we have been cultivated to have,
Hmm.
that we shouldn't act these things out even as consenting adults because of what society thinks or because of the way we were taught to think, or our religious backgrounds or anything like that. We can have all the reasons to have shame, right?
Right.
I won't go into the whole psychological background of shame, but if we think about putting ourselves in another person, in another role, dressing up, costuming it up, doing whatever, not that you need those things because, again, headspace and human consent is all that we need.
Right.
um, but if you act these things out and you're enveloping another whole person, you don't feel like this person is doing these things. So therefore, the shame attached to this person and how you were taught is not there. You're freely having this. And then afterwards, you're having these conversations with the person like, how did it go? You know, how did you feel? Was it liberating for you? Did you, get off? Was it great for you? Like, how are those um, would you like to do something different? Would you like to do more? These are conversations that you do a check-in that we don't always do in every, headspace. Our regular everyday, a lot of people have a lot of privilege. They just assume that they can have what they can have when they have it. Whereas in this, there's so much consent, there's so many conversations about it,
Hmm.
there's so many things put in place so that there isn't harm done, that you actually for some people very liberating to be able to act in these headspaces and then come out and be, you know their regular everyday person, but they don't have that same shame attached to it. And so I will say this: dark age play is not innately sexual. There are some people who like to include their adult consenting behaviors within those headspaces.
Hmm.
um, And so when you hear dark age play, don't automatically connect it to sexuality or sex in itself, because there's a lot of things that you can do that have nothing to do with traditional interactions between two folks in the sexual way.
Hmm. Yes, if there are two adults who and one enjoys being afraid or being intimidated or
Hmm.
feeling powerless, and the other one enjoys holding that power in that
Hmm.
space, and the two of them come together and construct a reality in which they are going to interact so that
Hmm.
both of them are getting those things, that is you know, it can be an amazing experience for the two of them where they both get something, and it doesn't absolutely doesn't have to be sexual. But
Hmm.
even if it is sexual, just as a reminder, these are consenting adults who are all of the legal age and intellectual ability to make those decisions in a way that it would be safe, but also just a little more enticing and
Hmm.
exciting
Hmm.
for them. You touched on something I would love to talk about a little more. So, what does that conversation look like during the negotiation, during the sharing period of getting to know each other to understand what it is that both parties are looking for? What are some of factors that should be in that conversation so that that healthy scene can be created?
That's my favorite part. So as a person who likes to plan, likes to do the conversation, who's literally gets excited about that part.
Mhm,
Um, when negotiating, first of all, knowing what people's backgrounds are, like if they have trauma and
mhm,
what it's connected to. The reason why I say that is because you should always have a trigger plan. If we accidentally hit a landmine we did not know about, we talk
mhm,
about the things that we do know about.
mhm,
So, hey, don't use a belt. Don't use anything that makes this slapping sound because it reminds me of a belt, and I don't do well with those things.
mhm,
That could be something that's like, oh, okay, because your partner may want to try a little toy when they're doing the thing and they're chasing you down the corridor in the house. Um, you know, Having a conversation about what do we do if that happens. So if I hear something, feel something, go into a space, whatever, um, these are the things I need. I need a blanket. I need us to stop immediately. I need you to either be away from me, just give me 5 minutes in the room, give me 10 minutes to myself. I need you to um, get me some water, tell me it's okay, tell me, go back and take off whatever gear you had on to let me
mhm,
know you're still my person. This is my partner. This is who I know it to be. We're no longer in this game, in this place, in this whatever. Um, Maybe I need to talk to my therapist, schedule me an appointment, something that I'm already doing in my vanilla life.
mhm,
And maybe I'm working on something and that just happened to bring up some feelings for me. Um, Not always is it as intense. Sometimes you just, again, need to just be out of that headspace, know that you're not in this scene anymore, that it's done. Sometimes I think that some people just need to connect again, to ground themselves, to take a breath, to hold on to themselves. Um, Sometimes when you negotiate, you talk about what's allowed and what's not allowed, what places you can touch, what places you can't,
mhm,
um, what kind of scenes we can play out. Like you can play out a playground scene, but don't play out um, anything that has to do with me in isolation.
mhm,
So I do not like the dark. I love the dark in some ways, but being alone in the dark, like in a closeted situation, and
mhm,
anything that feels like a box, and
mhm.
anything I can feel the walls this close to me, nah,
Right.
don't do it. I'm already in this beautiful, voluptuous body. I don't need nothing encapsulating it in that kind of way. Um, and so watching scary movies, we can do a scary movie thing. You can scare me during the day. Don't scare me at night because as a very spiritual person, like I see things vividly and I have very vivid dreams.
Mhm,
So we watch something, I'm seeing that thing in the dark, even though it's not there, but I'm seeing it because I can remember the color, the shape, the eyes, what it looked like, how it drooled,
mhm,
whatever the scary thing was. And so I know that I would never play in that way where something is chasing me and looks like one of those kind of things at
mhm,
night. In the daytime, yeah, I'm fine.
mhm,
So negotiating what's too far, um, or negotiating even scenes that you can't do. If you have things related to um, sex that you don't want to include in your play, there are middles and littles who are non-sexual at all. I've dated one. Um, when they go into those headspace, it's just fun for them. It has nothing to do with that. They're too little in that headspace to be consenting in their space, consenting enough to have that headspace thing happen. So if they're babies and they go into the space and they want to be a baby, for them, that may be that. But any age range, there's people who dark age play at any age range. So again, it's specific to each person, but this is just an example that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
um, they may not want anything that has to do with discipline because that's triggering for them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when they go into dark age play, they want to play, be scared, chase, or whatever, but they don't want to be disciplined or they don't want any action in which they're scolded or told derogatory things or told um, degrading things or humiliated or embarrassed because they didn't like bullies or something like that. I enjoy a bully situation when I'm in middle space. I enjoy um being the person told certain things, but not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I have had those moments where I'm just like, oh, you're so like it's a bully and a pup. I've been the bully and I've had a pup. And it's like, oh, you can't even drink your water right. Oh, you're bad. You didn't stay on your path. So
Mm-hmm.
those things are like bullying or degrading in certain ways in the same way. For me, it's fun because I don't mean it because my regular everyday person is a love and light person. So I would never bully you. I don't like bullies. I've been bullied. But these again are headspaces in which we can do those things in safer containers and gain our power back. So that's why I said it could be healing, but
Mm-hmm.
not like therapeutic, but not therapy,
Right.
because I have been bullied, so I know what it feels like to be on the receiving end of it. And
Mm-hmm.
so to gain my power back and be the bully of my bully in this headspace makes me feel like I have now taken my power back.
Right. Right.
And it has nothing to do with that situation. It's not that person. But in that moment, I know what it feels like to be the person who was in power.
Mm-hmm.
And so stepping out of that, I'm no longer a bully, but now I feel a little more powerful. I can sit in the fact that those words were not true
Mm-hmm.
and look at that as a scene that was happening that wasn't real for me. Like that person doesn't matter to me.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other one of the other thing that's important to point out is even if something isn't necessarily triggering, it
Hmm.
just may not be enjoyable. So it may not
Hmm.
contribute to your headspace. So it's
Right.
like discipline, that really doesn't do anything for me. So I don't want it. So let's not include it.
Hmm.
And even at that level, it's important to know because if the purpose of the scene is for you to have to feel a specific way and to enjoy that sense of being, anything that goes against it, um, detracts from the
Hmm.
experience that you're having, and therefore shouldn't happen. And I also just want to point back to every other kink. There are people who, with impact, thoroughly enjoy at times impact to the point of bruising, but that doesn't mean that every time they have a
Hmm.
scene, they are looking for that. That
Right.
they may not be feeling well enough, they may not be in that mood or whatever,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, they want to restrict it. And that's why the conversation is so important. The negotiation, the understanding of what the other person is looking for is really important. Uh,
Absolutely. Talking about what you want to feel out of a scene rather than what I want you to do.
what you
Because
want?
sometimes you want that creative space to do the things, but you just want to know what I don't want to do and don't want to have so that
Hmm.
you won't hit those things or do those things by accident.
Hmm.
Because if you don't know, you don't know. So it's good to communicate what you don't like and you absolutely know you don't like. But also just telling people what you want to feel. I want to feel small. I want to feel big. I want to feel powerful. I want to feel bullied. I want to feel cutesy or ravished. I want to feel trapped or I want to feel chased or that feeling of fear. And by telling people that, you're not telling them exactly what to happen, so you don't know what to expect. And you have that level of excitement,
Hmm.
but you also know that this person has had a conversation with you about the other things, so they know enough what not to do. And it's very liberating to allow somebody to be able to have that creative capacity, um, to be able to do those things, or creative control to do those things. Um, and being that I have, like I said, I play dark, both sides. Um, in daddy roles, I have been the one to, punish, or chase or scare, or to play games with. And then when they lost, you know, they had to do something that they didn't like write something, or uh, watch a movie that I wanted to watch. So I had to put them through that suffering. You had to watch this documentary on how to make peanuts,
Mhm.
because I know it would bore them to death, especially if they're in that headspace. They want to play, they want to be silly, but let's see what that feels like to make you do something you don't want to do, in that space, not in like a absolutely this will hurt me kind of harm way, but it's
Mhm.
just a I'm disinterested in this
Mhm.
kind of way. And that to me was, um, being able to use that sadistic space within a safer container of
Mhm.
playing in dark age play with two headspaces, me being a caregiver, them being the spunky middle who wanted to do all the cutesy stuff.
Mhm.
And so, like I said, it can be something so innocent as that. Like a documentary is not something that is, harmful or even to be seen as taboo, but it's taboo to that person because I wouldn't want to do that. Like, who wants to do that? Go stand in the corner. Things like that. Um, I do want to talk about the word dark age, but like the word itself. Um,
Go ahead.
so with the word dark, there is a connotation or attachment to, um, negativity or unclean in the word dark.
Mhm.
And as a lusciously dark skinned person, I don't know
Beautiful
how you can think
melody.
dark is bad. I don't know how people will correlate darkness, as negative, but as our history, especially in this country, as our history, talking about the word dark and how it's connected to racism.
Mhm.
Some people don't like to use dark age play, so they'll call it taboo, age play, or many other words that they just decide sinister or mysterious age play. But all of those things that the word dark is attached to, whether it's directly correlated with racism or unclean or darkness or, um, unpure, or, um, it's the opposite of what white or light has been seen,
Mhm.
um, as, righteous or Puritan or innocence. And so it is a play on innocence, but it's not, for me, I have no problem with using the word dark, because if there was no darkness, you wouldn't understand light. I am a moon goddess. I enjoy the moon. I would not be able to see the moon as clearly as I can see it,
Mhm.
against dark. I love dark clothes. I love things goth. I enjoy vampiric or mysterious elements, and those things are seen as dark. And so, me being in my full body, in my own skin, and loving a dark lip, and loving, just anything and everything that is black or in contrast to something else could be seen as a different pigment.
Mhm.
I am created of pigment. And so, um, I don't think people understand that I could never be afraid of the dark or shadows, because they exist, because light exists. They
Mhm.
exist as yin and yang exist in the world. And so, you may not use the word dark, but I enjoy the word dark. So dark age play does not, for me, hold a ounce of racism. I think the fact for me, where it came from was
Mhm.
the fact for me using it. I'm utilizing it in ways that I've taken back a lot of things in my life that were used to hurt, harm, or make us feel less than. The word dark to me is a contrast. The word dark for me means that it is, um, different from regular.
Mhm.
And I like anything that's better than regular. I mean, I'm not a mediocre person, so.
I mean, if you think about our entire community, um, although many aspects of our community exist in the vanilla world,
Mm,
spanking is something that's so common in so many vanilla relationships, and many other aspects of things that we do, many other kinks that we engage in. But it's always interesting to me how our community that's built on taboos,
mhm,
almost, or who plays in that taboo space, will then make spaces taboo for other people. I mean, I like to play with a single tail. I
mhm.
like to throw a single tail. Nothing's more fun than covering someone in clothespins and snatching them off with my single. But for many, especially many in the African American community, there is a great stigma, which is completely understandable, that goes with a single tail because of our history in slavery and how single tails were used as weapons against
Mhm,
us.
mhm,
Um, and so that's why, like, as we're having these conversations about um, these yucks that people may yum and things that people want to classify as wrong or bad or taboo in a negative sense, it's important to remember, like, that's our whole everything we do is built on that. Like,
Radical riots.
we have our
Liberation.
we have a foundation of, our pleasure can be derived from whatever source our pleasure is derived.
Mhm,
And as long as it's done in a safe way, in a consensual way, in a way that's actually built to promote the safety of the participants, that it is fine. So, one last question that I think is very important, and it moves back into just age play in general.
mhm,
Um, a lot of times you have people, and I'm one of these people, I don't identify as a handler, but
mhm,
if I'm in a space where there are a number of pets and there is some kind of mosh, or they're able, or the pets are playing, I find myself wanting to stand around and be a protector so
mhm,
that I can ensure they can play safely without any damage being done to, or any harm being done to them,
mhm.
and making sure they're safe. What can we do to make spaces more welcoming and more safe for age players on um, the little,
Receiving?
the baby, the middle side?
Okay. Um, so two parts to that. Because I did notice what you said about being able that you don't identify as a handler, and but being in those spaces makes you very protective of pups and very watchful of those areas to make sure that they're all playing safe.
Hmm.
That is a very caregiver nature.
Hmm.
But it's also something that I have noticed, and again, I might get some pushback in community, but again, I don't give a damn. I like to say my perspective is my perspective. It's how I feel, it's how I navigate,
Hmm.
and two things can be correct.
Hmm.
There can be this and it's not this or. So for me, in my opinion, um, handler pup connections or correlations can be similar if there are littler pups. I think that pet play and age play can sometimes have a lot of intersections and also can kind of seem similar. Say, for instance, a pup, like in real life, is little, they have to be um, given safer spaces so they know what's safe. They have to explore and learn and grow. There are things that they do when they're smaller versus what they do when they're older. They mature to a certain level, but they need that guidance,
Hmm.
similar to a caregiver and a little. There are things and rules, nap times, things, don't do this, put these things in order, guidance, care, nurture, whatever. And so to me, sometimes there's a crossover between age play and pet play,
Hmm.
which I love and enjoy both because I do both. Um, But having that desire to keep a space safe or safer um, is to have different things and rules in place. Like when you're at a mosh, don't wear your, your outside shoes, outside socks in the play spaces if they're going to be pups on all fours or they're going to be in their gear or whatever, because you don't want germs, right? You don't want, they may put things in their mouth or play with each other and don't want those outside things
And,
to create some kind of hazard or danger. Similar with little spaces or middle spaces. If you know that there are going to be some middles who are in particular headspace that don't want to see or be part of all of the adult activities in those particular ways, have a space that is off to the side or separate or has a divider so that the divider can be moved. There might be some littles or middles who want to see the things, who are okay with those things, but also creating a space where there is space for them to just be among each other, doing the things that are not related to the rest of the kinky space.
mhm,
um, don't look at it as a last minute space in your event space. Don't look at it as four little crayons and some old tethered books is enough, because not all middles and littles like to color.
mhm,
Have some other activities. Have somebody on your boards who are creating events or spaces that actually are middles and littles, because they do a lot in community
mhm,
and can give their voice to things. I always look at it as, if you want to make a space for a particular population, have that population be the direct correspondent or the person giving you that information on how to make that space in it, what it is. There are a lot of people teaching classes on what age play is and what people like and what littles, middles, and those people who are players versus those who are not role players, and that's just who they are. Um, and so being able to tap in and having those conversations about what makes them feel safe, does having more or included having more um, pageants or things specific to littles and middles, have more events or playtime or play spaces with various types of things they can do and play, puzzles for those who are a little more hands-on, having, bubbles and things like that, having stuffies and soft spaces, having quiet spaces versus high volume activities, having a TV where they can choose different things.
mhm.
Um, and I get it, it's expensive to do the things, but if you put that as a last resort, and there's so many littles and middles, there's so
Yeah.
many people who identify on different sides of the slash who also have a middle or inner little or middle that come up and don't talk about it because nobody makes space for
Mhm.
littles and middles because they want to do the adult whoop ass what do you call it, physical skill stuff to be all
Mhm.
flashy. They don't think about the mental aspects of kink, leather, and BDSM, and they don't think about as much, and they don't think about the littler or the more taboo types of play that have to do with things that don't look all flashy and
Mhm.
painful and loud and whatever. Um, and so I think the way to make that population in particularly is to give insight to a different range of middles and littles and ask what they want,
Mhm.
what they would like. Um, Even the vendors have a variation of vendors. Not everybody wants just leather things.
Right.
Not everybody wants just toys. Sometimes hair bows, hair clips have a littles vendor. There are people who do all the little stuff
Mhm.
and are littles themselves who create things. And so, yeah, bringing those things into space, asking this population what they want directly. If you ask me what I wanted, um, as a older middle, it
Mhm.
may be closer to the more adult things, but it would be fashion. I want the cute kawaii stuff. I want stuff in a bigger body, like bigger body vendors. Let me get plus size kawaii things and socks for people who are of our big age that have also compression in them, but has ruffles. Like, give me some cute compression. I got compression socks on right now. I'm pulling them up. Compression socks, you know what I mean? That are thigh high and sexy and have the little what do you call the things that go around your legs? What's the little why can I think of not the corsets? What are they? I'm never going to think about it. And afterwards, I'm probably going to think about it later. But being able to have those kind of things, things that fit bigger bodies, aging bodies, have a section for disabled littles.
Hmm.
Maybe they want to color and paint their accessibility devices. Like I would love to bedazzle the shit out of my walker
Hmm.
or have tassels off my wheelchair that I created. Give me a little creative section of the thing where we can go crazy. I know glitter is probably a hell no in the dungeon space because it gets everywhere.
Everywhere.
But little things like that. Think about the different populations and how those intersections happen because there are going to be 62-year-old baby boys, baby girls, baby persons walking around who are at these events that they pay this money for, but there's no space for them, and people assume what they want or that they don't want those things.
Hmm.
That's why they don't always come out, and that's why people don't really talk about it because there's not that welcoming space. But I can talk about all the things forever.
And that's so important because I know so many times where when I go out to a leather event, part of what I'm going for is just to be around other leather people.
Yeah.
So, and then that's what makes it so hard. That's why you have event drop when you go home because it's like, oh
Hmm.
my goodness, I finally was around all my people and now I have to go around all these people. And so we definitely want to make sure that age players of all ages and on both sides have the opportunity to have that experience and to have it in a way that's safe. And when they leave, they leave wanting more of
Hmm.
what they had there. So that is just absolutely critical. So, Miss Jade, you've given us so much to think about today and so much to just look at and fantasize about. How can people, if they have more questions or they want to know where you'll be next, what you'll be teaching next? You have a number of things coming up. In fact, this weekend, you are in the middle of teaching. And I thank you for giving us your time while you are in the middle of doing your thing. If people wanted to get in touch with you, how could they get in touch with
Good question. I have a link tree that is also, I think, listed on my Instagram page and my Facebook page. Um, you can also find me on Chat.
you? Mhm.
Um, the events that I have coming up, actually, because I just finished the event, the SOC or Service Oriented Conference, which was yesterday, and I did a class on um, basically creating safer space for affirming touch.
Mhm.
Um, I will be my next event is Uprise. I'll be one of the panelists for the Resist panel for Uprise 2025. You can also find these links on my Facebook. I I think after that I have Flare, which is the Flare Forward 2025. I'll be presenting Shadows of Our Corners. Actually, Shadows of Our Corners is a call to Dark Age players. It is a class that's built around the Black Leather and Color or Blick magazine, which you can find me in actually for a couple of issues, whether it's my poetry. My article about disability and kink, and the Dark Age play article that I wrote. And I'll also be at DomCon. And so, yeah, find me.
Wonderful. If you don't mind, can you drop your link tree in the comments so that
Sure.
people can see that and follow you? And while you're doing that, I just want to thank you so much for your time and your insight and for sharing your personal experiences. So many times it's hard to, one of the things that I know I had a hard time finding when I was um, first coming into community and exploring things, it was so hard for me to find other people who could be resources for me, who I could ask a question or whatever. And so thank you for putting yourself out and talking about so many of these topics, which are incredibly important, and can be journey changing for many people. Um, and with that, I will invite Boy Ogun to the stage for questions. Hello, Boy Ogun.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Hi, handsome.
Hello. Alrighty, so we have a few questions actually that came through during the program. And so the first question that we received was from the boy Al. And so I'm going to show it on the screen. And the boy Al asked, Master SteeleToe Scrivener, what are you drinking? It looks very tasty.
I'm drinking my favorite scotch, which is Grainstone 12 Years. It is the smokiest scotch I have ever tasted. The smoke lingers on the tongue for ever, and it's amazing. And that's what I'm drinking today.
Okay, awesome, sir. And then the boy Al has another question asking, what is a daddy with an I versus a daddy with a Y?
Absolutely. A lot of people attach daddy with a Y to masc or male presenting folks who are cis. For me, daddy with an I means that I acknowledge the fact that I am in that headspace. It doesn't matter what I'm wearing, how I present, I am a daddy. So regardless of if you see me in fem energy or mask energy, I'm a daddy.
Okay. So now the next question is, what is a middle? And can a middle be any age?
Ooh, love it. Yes. So the easy answer to that is yes. A middle can be any age. For a lot of folks, they personally identify with a particular age based on what they like or where their headspace is, or they can remember a particular time in their life where they may have had or discovered that part of themselves. For me, I feel like my middle is more closer to like 16 to maybe before adulthood. Because again, that's where I felt like I was, that energy of walking down the street and you get some uncle that be like, hey, and call you beautiful for the first time, and that glowy feeling where I know my identity and I'm developing in myself and I feel my sexuality coming to the forefront of who I am as a person.
Okay. All right. Now let's see here. All right. The next question is age play a power dynamic exchange as with a DSMS dynamic? That is the question.
Those who are in ADS or MS dynamic can do these types of play and age play or identify as an age player. For me, in my opinion, basically, little middles um, caregivers are not particularly on either side of the slash.
Mhm.
They don't have to even identify as a person who does power exchange or power transfer or anything like that. Um, that person can just be a self-identifying person. I know a lot of littles who are not even in any dynamic, don't need a dynamic particularly to power exchange. They are little, middle, whatever, and that's just who they are as a person. Like that's the energy that comes up for them. They don't need to be in any kind of dynamic or identify as a S type or D type or anything like that. I know a lot of littles who are not S types, and people kind of correlate the two because of that idea of being smaller
Right.
or desiring a caregiver. But my middle does not need a daddy. And so for some people, they're like, oh, okay, so, are you really a middle? And I'm like, it doesn't, like, you identify who you are. The other person is not the reason you are what you are. It's just a way in which you get um, to interact in those two spaces.
Okay. And thank you for explaining that and how they actually interact. And then I guess our last question, oh, actually, no, not our last question, second to last question is what is consensual non-consent?
CNC. Would you like me to talk about that, or did you want to talk about it, sir?
Oh, I would listen to you talk all day. So you go right ahead.
um, so in the way that I've understood it, because it's not innately something that I do as much in the ways that most people do. Consensual non-consent as a general is something that you consent to when you negotiate things that you are willing to do, that you desire to do, but also you don't have a particular time or place or whatever when that directly happens. So, say for instance, 3 months ago, I told you that I want you to find, like, no matter where I'm at, I want you to find me walking
Mhm,
down the street and grab me up and do a whole rope scene and throw me in the back of the truck. This is
mhm,
extreme for some folks, but it's literally something that you said you wanted, right? A fantasy you wanted to play out. So, it's a Tuesday, you going to Starbucks, you're on your way, whatever, and then all of a sudden you see a van with people and whoop, you get swiped up.
mhm,
And at the end of all of this beautiful scene happens, this thing that was so incredible, and at the end you're like, Daddy, did you set this up? This was amazing. Like that was I didn't even know it was happening. So it's almost like a surprise birthday party, but you knew your birthday was happening and you knew something was gonna happen for your birthday, but it didn't happen.
mhm,
But this can be something like that, playful, something that was unsuspecting or surprising, but it can also be more extreme depending on what you negotiate. I won't go into the details of those things because I don't participate in a lot of what consensual non-consent can consist of.
mhm,
It can also just be a scene where it's like you are setting up a scene where that person doesn't have power.
Yes,
So it could be a kidnapping scene,
yes,
or it could be worried about the YouTube algorithms or worried about my word choice. It
yes.
could
That's
be a
why I didn't
scene,
want to say the word.
it could be a scene where there is some kind of forced activity where
Mhm,
it's not actually forced because you've negotiated it in the beginning, but for the purpose of creating the scene, you're creating a scenario where it seems as if where you're pretending that this is a scene where you're forcing some activity on someone without their consent, when in
mhm,
all actuality the consent has already been given
mhm.
for that scene.
mhm,
Right. Or even having had that conversation about wanting and desiring this fantasy, and then that fantasy happening at a later time or date in a
Mhm,
way that you didn't recognize was going to happen. So it's a surprise that it's happening that day, but it's something you already said yes to.
mhm.
mhm. Okay, so the final question here is can both regressive and non-regressive participate in dark age play?
Yes. And thank you for asking that little adult gaming.
Mhm,
Um, regressive folks, there's a difference between regressive folks and non-regressive folks. Um, there is uh, big thing in community about dark age play versus regression. Regression is um, where you are, who you are, energy, headspace, period.com.edu. It's not particularly a play. It's where you go in your space, your head, your energy, your body, where you are in yourself. Whereas what I participate in is dark age play in that space. So, say for instance, I am creating a role play in the space of being in a different headspace, being someone who is either littler or bigger.
mhm,
A regressive person is already, that's just where they go and who they are, but not technically playing. They are not doing a scene. This is just where they are.
Mhm.
They can also be in that regressive space and decide to do a scene, while they're in that headspace. So they're negotiating that, hey, if I go into this space, or when I go into this space, or do these certain things that I know is going to push me into that headspace, and then these are the things I'm consenting to do in this particular headspace.
Mhm.
That is a regressive person participating in dark age play, versus somebody who's just regressive and that's where they are. I hope I explained that the best way I can.
That was great.
Um,
I think. Yeah.
but if not, there are a lot of people in community who are regressive, and that's often where their headspace is when they're not in adult headspace doing the adult things that they don't really want to do. I have
Mhm.
t-shirts that says, "I don't want an adult today." But yes.
Okay.
Okay. So
And
we actually had a
with
couple additional
with
questions.
that, just with looking because of time restraints, we're going to have to cut there. But I do want to thank everyone for participating, all of you for your amazing questions and comments throughout the um, conversation today. I want to remind you that this conversation will be available on the House of Steel Facebook page for the next 30 days. And after that, it will be on our YouTube feed in perpetuity. And our YouTube page is HOF Steel, STEELE, on YouTube. And there you can see this conversation and all of the other conversations and classes, and also a number of classes that have been taught in other places and recorded and uploaded to our page. So it's always there as a resource for you. Please continue to follow us. On Instagram, we are also HOF Steel. Um, and you can continue to know what we're doing. Please watch our Facebook page to see what we're talking about next. And our next conversation will be taking place on October 19th in 2 weeks at 2 o'clock. And that'll be a Dynamics of Dynamics conversation with me and my protege Reese. And we will be discussing the submissive's power. So it should be an amazing conversation. That kind of spans mentalities between the view of what power submissives have, kind of from old guard standards to the current day, and how you can negotiate that power and enjoy that power exchange. So a riveting conversation coming up then, and we hope that you join us. But once again, I would love to thank my alpha boy, Boy Ogun, who produces our segments and puts everything together to make us to make me look sharp and professional when I sit in this chair. And also for our amazing guest today, Mix Jade. Thank you so much for your time and your stunning melanation. As always, it is a pleasure to see you, and but also just wonderful for everybody to learn from you today. So thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And if anyone has any questions we didn't end up getting to, my link tree is in the chat, and feel free to contact me directly. I love emails. So send that on and I'll answer your questions directly.
Okay, Boyogun, will you drop that in the main chat from the private chat so that people have it?
Yes, sir.
And they can reach out to Mix Jade. And I'll
Respectfully.
hold on until that is added so that people can have that. We will also add it to the House of Steel page if anybody is interested in reaching out to Mix Jade so that you have that opportunity. I will tell you, it is an opportunity that you will not regret. I have not regretted it since the first day I fell in love and in awe having met Mix Jade. Um, I see you working over there, Boyogun.
Yes, sir.
All right. And as soon as that pops in, we will say thank you and enjoy your day. And I have it, Boyogun. Oh, there you are. We both just dropped it in. Okay, and so there is the link tree in the chat so that people can access that, and that'll be available in the comment section of this video on the House of Steel page and on the YouTube page. Thank you everyone for joining us. Shout out to Boyd Debney. Hey, I haven't seen you in so long. It is so great to see you. I still maintain no one in America does a better mirror shine.
Mm.
Boyd Debney. I have never felt as lacking as a bootblack as I have been seeing mirror shines that Boyd Debney does on a boot. That it's absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for joining us, Boyd Debney, and thank you everyone else for joining us. Nuka Sola, Boy Al, and Little Adults Gaming. Thank you for your comments. And we look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.
Later.